Welcome to the newly redesigned Pulse Debit Regulations Resource Center. I'm Steve Siebert, and joining me today is George Peabody, Director of Mercator Advisory Group's Emerging Technologies Advisory Service. Today, George and I will talk about some of the early impact of Regulation II implementing the Durbin Amendment. George, thanks for joining me today.
Pleasure being here.
A key provision of Reg II, that of merchant-directed transaction routing, took effect October 1st of last year. What are some of your initial observations about how that change is impacting the marketplace?
So we're still in early days. Between the starting gun and the implementation date of April for dual branding, there's a lot of details that have to be worked out. Merchants now are really in the driver's seat in terms of least cost routing, and they have an opportunity to look at who's bringing them the most transactions. We don't actually believe that all the cost implications from a competitive point of view have been worked out. What's going to be the cost of intra-network switching? Those details have to be figured out yet. So merchants still have some time to evaluate, I think, before this really gets going.
Given merchants' new control over transaction routing, how are they reaching their decisions over which network to route a transaction? Does it simply boil down to the lowest cost option, or are there some other considerations?
You just simply can't discount the impact of cost. And it's not just about cost, is it? I mean, merchants are looking at networks based on how many accounts can they bring me? And because they can look at that every day in real time almost, they have the information they need to make the right decision. So it's cost, it's account base, and also to some extent it's going to be value-added services. What other services can the network or their processing partner bring to make the merchant's life more profitable?
Now, merchants have had the ability to set minimums on credit card transactions since Durbin was enacted back in 2010. Are you seeing merchants adopt this strategy on a widespread basis?
That depends upon the merchant tier. Tier 1 merchants, they've got no interest in putting any barriers up and changing the customer experience. Consistency of customer experience for a Tier 1 merchant is really, really important. So whether it's paying for $1.25 for a candy bar with a card or $40 for a prescription the next day, large merchants don't want to change that experience for the customer. Now, we start going down market, then we start to get real cost sensitivity. So we're seeing more and more, that $10 limit on when cards get kicked in or kicked out. Because at $7, that's when it starts to hurt the merchant given the new cost regime. And finally, the other merchant category that's having its world turned upside down as a result of the Durbin Amendment is unattended and kiosk, and really the micropayment world. So at micropayments, it's either eat it or pass on the cost. And so we see in Redbox has added 20 cents to the cost of a DVD rental simply to cover the 21 plus that it costs them now to take a debit transaction.
So that's some of the early impact. Let's transition to think more long-term right now. What do you think the long-lasting impact on Reg II is going to be, specifically on acquirers and merchants? Well,
it puts interchange under a cloud. We've now opened that discussion, and at Mercator, we don't think that this is a discussion that's on anybody's agenda in the short term, because we really want to see how's this going to play out across debit. But it puts the interchange model broadly under a cloud, which really means that acquirers and processors and their networks are going to have to compete more and more on pricing clarity. So look at a Heartland, for example, that is a cost-plus provider and is very transparent about the fees that it charges. Those are going to be the differentiators going forward, and we won't talk about credit.
And then lastly, let's just transition to talk a bit about customer loyalty, always a hot topic in our industry. What are some of the ways that merchants and issuers can work more closely together on things like rewards and customer loyalty programs so that they both benefit, mutually beneficial outcomes?
Well, the merchant-funded discount network approach is one that we're seeing gain traction. It's an attractive way to go because you can bring a set of non-competing merchants together. You can do that in a local area. So if you're trying to compete, if a merchant's trying to compete for customers against either a daily deal provider like a Groupon or Living Social, here's a way that they can incent consumers in their own local service area. And as you know, local is getting to be more and more of a marketing push and an interest for a broader range of consumers. So MFDNs, we're absolutely seeing them pick up.
Well, George, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate your time and insight.
No, my pleasure.
And check back often for additional information and guidance right here on the Pulse Debit Regulations Resource Center. We'll be updating the site throughout the year.